part one of my three-part series, May 1st, 2026, John West, running for position number 1. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, Josephine County Republican. I'm here with John West. So you are running for commissioner.
Position number 1.
So position number 1. All right. So you're looking. We've had conversations about fraud and waste and cutting taxes. Did you want to get into some of the topics of that? I know you said something about 3 assessors' vehicles that are sitting back there being unused, and we're paying for maintenance and insurance and so that kind of stuff. We're trying to cut taxes, and the people of Josephine County, they don't want to pay more taxes. They want to pay less, right? So, I mean, what is your plans for that?
Well, you know, one of the main jobs, and the county commissioners have a lot of them because they're all 3 phases of government, but one of the main jobs that county commissioners have is to cut waste, abuse, and fraud. Mm-hmm. And I believe we have all 3.
Got it.
And I don't say that very lightly.
Yeah.
I mean, so this county wastes a ton of money. They could do way better. And there's a lot of abuse that goes on. And as far as fraud, I'm going to say that one very lightly, mm-hmm. because fraud is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, sure.
And so I'm not saying that we have any certain employees that are frauding the taxpayer. That will come as time comes about. And so, but that is our job. And so if you cut waste and you cut abuse and you cut fraud, you will have smaller government, more efficient government, and better government. Excellent. And government's job is to serve the people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so you look at the average citizen of Josephine County, I think the average income of Josephine County is around $37,000 a year. When you take the average employee of Josephine County, and I know it's 6 figures, it's over 100,000. That's wages and benefits. And so when I see an employee who has worked for 5 years of Josephine County that gets 300 hours of vacation time, that's 7.5 weeks.
That's incredible.
13 paid holidays, and 1 week of sick leave. Then they get 12 weeks of paid leave Oregon, 10 weeks of FMO Oregon, I think it's family leave Oregon of something, and then 10 weeks of MNO Oregon. That's what I was told was those other ones. It's just insane, because when you add it up, I think it's around 4 months a year.
And that's times 400-ish employees that are currently in the county, right?
Right.
So you got 400 employees times, what do you think the average is? Like 165, 150,000?
Probably, I would say we got to be close to the 140, 150 range. The average employee costs us. Now, when I say that costs us, that's their wage,
yep,
health insurance, vacation, PERS, all their perks.
And that's all taxpayers.
Fully loaded.
Taxpayers are paying for all of that.
100%.
$60 million.
I bet it goes over that.
Wow.
I wouldn't be surprised that it doesn't hit closer to the $70 million range.
The taxpayers are paying $60 or $70 million per year, essentially, for employees that are there. And are all those employees even needed? I mean, of course, we don't want to get rid of people, but I mean, people need to pay their families and health care and stuff like that. But there's a lot of potential waste, and that's something that you're going to be looking into. If you're elected.
So I did look into it for the first 2 years when I was your county commissioner. And I get asked a lot, well, John, how come you didn't cut a bunch of this out when you were already county commissioner? Well, we're a board of 3, not a board of 1.
Right.
So it takes 2 votes to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so You always have to have another vote to get there. And remember, I was heading that direction, ready to work with the board on trying to solve some of these issues. And then I left office, and so I didn't get a chance my last 2 years to finish that, and so that I'm coming back, or hopefully to come back.
Yeah, excellent.
And so I have a plan. I know what needs to be done. You don't have to train me.
Right.
You don't have to put money into me. And I can hit the ground running. And so, but I need to work with a board that has the same mindset.
Yeah.
If they don't care about the average day citizen, they don't care about what government costs, they don't care about what it costs the citizen to live every day, then we're going to be in a struggle.
Yeah, and it seems like it's a big popularity contest, but in the end, really everybody just doesn't want to pay more taxes, and that's what you're all about. You're about cutting all of that and getting down to the bottom line, smaller government, like you said.
Well, and efficiency. I seen cars sit for 3 to 7 months.
Yeah, those assessor cars,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They're just back there sitting.
Yeah, sitting in a fenced compound.
And where are the assessors? Where is the assessor?
Some of them, and I don't want to pick just the assessors, because we have great people that work in the assessor's office.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is I was a big proponent of, let's take the county vehicles and let's stop as many vehicles from going home.
Mm-hmm.
People should have their own car.
Yeah.
Or ride the bus if they live in town, however they want to do it. But the taxpayer should not pay for you to take the car home, and then some employees decide, oh, well, I have a county vehicle, I'm going to take it to Walmart and go shopping on the weekend or in the evening. No, that's taxpayers' funds.
Yeah,
that's taxpayers' money. And so we need to be mindful of that.
Even the little stuff counts.
The little stuff.
Yeah.
And so, here, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago or something like that, they changed the county logo to show it showed mountains and trees, and so they changed, cost $1 million.
Are you kidding me?
To change a logo.
That's crazy.
Boy, wouldn't we like to have that $1 million back?
Yeah, I know the city did some big campaign. It was like, what was it? Go Rogue.
Yeah.
Or what was it? I can't remember the slogan, but everybody was like, "Go Rogue." Like, what? What does that even mean? And just spent a bunch of cities.
So when I come into office before, the logo was brought up, and I said, how much did that cost us to change a logo?
Yeah.
And they said, oh, it cost $1 million. And I said, what cost $1 million? Oh, well, we had to pay a designer, and we had to pay I said, for a little tiny emblem? And they said, oh, well, we had to throw all that letterhead and envelopes away, and all those signs on the cars had to be replaced and redone. Mm-hmm. And I said, are you people insane?
$1 million gone, just like that.
Yeah, just like that. And so, you take the vehicle waste, it just goes on and on and on. And so remember, I don't begrudge anyone having vacation time and taking time off.
Yeah, sure.
But when you're off 2 months, what we have to do is we end up having to go out to another entity and bring in a temporary worker to replace them while they're gone.
Yes, you're
so now we're paying again for that person to be off. And everybody deserves the time to take vacations and be off, but we wouldn't have to replace them if they were off, a week or two. But if you can take a month or two off, how does some departments, I can tell you how some departments work. Well, let's not have to hire temporary workers. Let's hire more employees. So when we have employees take off, we have the extra employees take their time. Well, that really costs you a lot of money.
That does, yeah.
And it's like, are you kidding me?
Doesn't make any sense.
And the
Doesn't make any sense.
and the new one that I hear, which is just mind-boggling, is, the morale's down in the county, and if you would give them another raise, it would bring their morale up.
No, then you have to give everybody a raise.
Then you give everybody a raise. But it's not just their wage, the raise on their wage, they get more on their PERS.
Right.
Everything costs more. And so we just see it just going over and over and over again. Now, don't take me wrong. We have a lot of great employees,
Sure.
a lot of great employees.
Yep.
But the problem is we cannot afford. Government was not supposed to be the best paying job. Government was supposed to be about service.
Yes, exactly.
Now, you got paid to serve the people that you work for. But when government, when the people, the taxpayers, end up working to pay for those government, they're actually, in a sense, I say it, government was supposed to be designed to work for the people. Mm-hmm. The people are working for government now.
Yeah, it's a little backwards.
And so it's backwards.
Yeah.
It's totally wrong.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so I'm seen as a threat. I want to go in there. I want to expose it. Yeah, I'm pretty tight, but I've been in business 30 plus years. I've been in the county government. I've managed the departments. I think we got 23 departments. And we've got some great managers, some great directors. But we got other people that thinks it is their right.
Yeah, yeah.
And what our right is to make sure that we serve the people of Josephine County.
Yeah.
That's our right, to serve them. And it's not that we get served, and when we're done being served, we hope there's some service left for somebody else. Yeah, and so, but I don't want to keep going on about this, but and then when we have money, so a lot of people don't understand the ONC funding. So we've seen some ONC funding come back, and they see that the Trump administration has opened up logging, and I think in March they sold 95 million board feet. So I want everybody to be clear. We don't get money on 95 million board feet that was sold, because first it has to be logged.
Right.
So out of 95 million board feet, there was 25 million board feet that was instantly held up in the courts.
Oh, wow.
It may never get logged.
Yeah.
And if it does, it may be 3-5 years down the line. So we don't see our percentage of revenue. So the way it works on ONC funding is you take all the timber sales, it don't have to be Josephine County, it's all the timber sold, and it has to be on ONC ground. Well, if you look at on the government ground, we only have a small fraction of ONC timberlands. The rest of it's late successional reserve ground. It can be Forest Service ground, it can be BLM ground, but it don't have to be ONC timberland. So we don't receive funding from the BLM that's not ONC. We don't receive Forest Service money from their timber sales. And our SRS, which is Secure Rural Schools funding, we get one payment in September this year, and it's $1,100,021, something like that. That's our last. Unless Congress can somehow get it approved for it to come back, that's our last payment.
Yeah, and other stuff has been drying out too. I know there was, what is it, the schools thing? I can't remember.
Well, the schools used to get a percentage of Secure Rural Schools.
Yeah.
And so that goes away. But when I was commissioner, we received $2.8 million every year from secure rural schools.
And that's going away.
And that's going away. They talk about the PELT and all this stuff, all that stuff. So how we used to fund the DA was because the budgeting was about 2.6, 2.8, and we got that money. So we would slide that money over. It's going away. So as Trump administration is selling these timber sales, a lot of it isn't O&C ground, but if it is O&C ground, it's held up in the courts. And the way it works in federal timber sales, most federal timber sales, they're green timber sales, and you can buy them and hold on them for 3 to 5 years. You put, say, 20% down. So we don't get any money till they're logged.
Yeah, it's all when it's done.
So
yeah.
let's say they sold 500 million board feet this year, and nobody logs a stick of it. You don't get paid for it.
Yeah, you don't get paid for it.
You don't get paid for it till it's logged. So a lot of people are like, well, wait a minute. When do we get our money? I'm trying to tell you that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, and so as we see one of the sales that sold in the Applegate, it was dead bug-killed timber. I think 880 acres or something like that, held up in the courts because the environmentalists don't want us logging it.
Yeah.
But you know, it creates one of the biggest fire hazards, that all that dead bug-killed timber.
It does.
And it's going to waste.
Yep.
And if they hold it out long enough from being logged, it has no value. Now, we are not doing a service to our forest by getting rid of that dead bug-killed timber. We're also not getting our counties and our schools any revenue.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's a big mix. So people says, well, the government needs to do better on forest health and forest management. Go and tell your environmental groups that.
Yeah, exactly. They're the ones stopping it.
Yeah. So, you know, as we see funding drying up and cutting down, and then we see federal money in other areas and other grants dry up, and then we see state money dry up, you have to ask yourself, okay, where does our money come from? 58 cents. I think it's 0.5867.
Right.
So we get roughly 5.6 to $6 million, something like that a year in property. That's what we run county government on. So in that, we are mandated to run the assessor, mandated to run the clerk. We have mandated departments. And so the clerk takes a lot of income in that they take in that office for all the different permits and stuff. So, but if they don't take in enough from their permitting system, then we have to help them with the general fund.
Yeah.
The assessor, if you don't have an assessor and assessors, you're not going to have property taxes. You're not going to have no revenue.
Right.
So, and then the schools won't get paid and this and that. So that costs us, I believe, around $1.8 to $2 million a year. So the assessment should be fairly simple, most people thinks, because you go, well, it can't go up more than 3% a year, and that's fine as long as you don't change anything on your property.
Yeah.
But let's just say you have 5 acres, you build a house, and it's been going along, and the assessed value has been going up 3% a year, but all of a sudden you build a shop or you build an ADU. That changes your assessed value. So the assessor needs to reassess that, get it to where the proper assessed value. So that takes, whether they use Google Earth or they come onto your property,
Right.
and I'll be the first to tell you, I don't allow government on my property.
Yeah, sure. That's great.
I mean, and that's just me.
Yeah.
Now, because that's just the way I am.
Yeah. And I think that's a lot of people in Josephine County. They're like, nope, sorry.
So one of the things I hear right now, and I go to the weekly business sessions or I watch them, is well, we need code enforcement back. We need code enforcement. Well, code enforcement was originally designed, and it was actually sent to the voters, and the voters said, we don't have an issue with code enforcement, but we want a leash on them. We don't want them violating our personal property rights. We don't want them coming on our property and doing something, saying that there's something that's not going on. So code enforcement was designed for the person who's letting their sewer run out on the ground, or the garbage is piling up and the rats and the infestation. They're stacking cars and oil and gases are going out. Or there's 20 camp trailers on there and there's a whole tribe of people living in camp trailers that there's no water, there's no sewer service, and all that.
Which is happening right now. I know there was a couple of guys that came in and you saw that.
And I've seen them there. They were coming every week complaining about, and the commissioners kept saying, oh, we're going to be on it. We're going to get on it. No, they could get on it. They could already had it taken care of.
Yep.
It's the same thing. Let's kick the can down the road and hopefully these people go away. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
The commissioners has more power, more say so, but the problem is right now you have a board that's inexperienced. One commissioner has made his mark by giving his voting power away, not doing his job for 3 or 4 months of his first term, but still wants his paycheck.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's just, I don't have an issue with code enforcement, but when I was commissioner, we had code enforcement, solid waste, we had all of that. And I had a lady on Facebook on a Sunday that we seen post on Facebook, oh, code enforcement come out to my house and they said that I'm in violation because I cut blackberry briars on my property. And so I seen that. And so I found out who it was, never met the people before. I got a phone number for him. I called him and I said, listen, I read your story on Facebook. What is going on? So she explained it to me. They're out in the Applegate. I went out there Monday morning. I seen it on Sunday night. I went out there Monday morning. And I said, what are you zoned? We're zoned farmland. In farmland zoning, blackberry briars are considered an invasive species.
Yeah.
Federal and state law gives that requirement, it gives the right to the landowner to cut any and all blackberry briars.
That's invasive.
She paid thousands of dollars to have a person come in and mow them down to get her property back. And the county said, oh, we're going to charge you $165 for as a fee just because we come and did an evaluation. Then they wanted to charge her another money. And I said, no.
Yeah.
And so then I find out, well, we're going to start using code enforcement as a revenue generator. So we're going to, if we can get and do enough of these evaluation sites and we start charging people, we're going to be able to pay for code enforcement. It's never was designed to do that.
Yeah, that's
and it's
backwards.
not right.
Yeah.
It is not right. I would say we have a small percentage of landowners that violate the law. They don't care about their neighbor, or they're not as concerned about their neighbor, and they do things that brings down the property value of their neighbor or jeopardizes their health. It's a very small percentage.
Yeah, exactly.
And we need to go after those people. And at one time, they told me, they said, oh, we have 1,800 people logged in to with it. We've sent letters for violations. And I started going through them, and we didn't have 1,800 people. We had 1,800 complaints, and some of the complaints weren't even valid.
Yeah, so it's a lot less than that.
A lot less than that. So my take on it was, we talked as a board and we said, listen, we need to have 2 valid complaints within a half a mile. And so we decided that when we did that, the complaints really dropped
I
off.
bet.
It dropped off
Yeah.
because what we found out is code enforcement would go out to somebody's property and say, hey, I received a complaint that you're growing marijuana on your property. And they're standing there on their property and they're saying, well, it's nothing but green grass here. I don't see no. And they go, oh yeah, I bet it's such and such neighbor. I got in a fight with them because their dog come over on my property and crapped in my yard. And I got in a fight with them over it. So they were mad at him. So they called code enforcement and made up a claim.
Made a false report.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to alleviate stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I went out to a guy on Foothill Boulevard, and he had received 7 letters from code enforcement.
Oh, wow.
And he called me and he says, John, he says, I voted for you to be county commissioner because I believed that you were going to serve the people, you were going to work for the people. And so I drove out to his house. I drove and I said, hey, what does the letter say? And so he said, I got 7 of them here. So I read them, and it says he's growing marijuana and he's got greenhouses all over his property.
And it didn't exist.
There is not one greenhouse, not one marijuana grow. And I go, well, I can smell marijuana. Where's it coming from?
Yeah.
And he says, the people over there. And I said, and he says, I already know who's complaining. It's this lady over here. She looks across my property and sees that marijuana over there, and now she's claiming it's me. And it's not even the same piece of property.
Yeah, it's a different property.
And so we
Yeah.
got code enforcement going out, sending letters, costing us thousands of dollars, harassing people,
Yep. For
and
nothing.
they have done nothing wrong.
Wow.
And so it was never supposed to be like this. And so I want to refine it. I want to make it where it's accountability. And I want it only the bad actors get penalized, and the everyday citizens not doing nothing wrong, you don't need to hear from county government.
And that's cutting waste. That's a big waste cut.
Oh, it's a huge waste
Because
cut.
you're right, they have to go out there, they have to investigate, then there's letters, and there's a lot of stuff. So county expenses for the taxpayers, like what about law enforcement and sheriff for the jail? Like, what do you think is one of the more costly expenses?
So I am 100% for law enforcement, DA, the jail. So one thing, the citizens 10 years ago voted for the jail levy, and it said we are not going to have no more catch and release, and we're going to have 185 beds.
Right.
We've never used 185 beds.
No, it gets like maybe 150 max.
Yeah, maybe, and most of the time it's like 120. And most people that gets arrested is catch and release,
Yeah.
because they say, oh, well, it's not our fault, it's the DA. Okay, well, maybe the DA doesn't have enough DAs to prosecute.
Lack of resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, but let's talk about the last 10 years. What is one of the biggest costs of law enforcement?
Maybe the sheriff patrols?
So we have sheriff patrols, we have the nicest rigs, we have the nicest everything. But how many citizens know we got like 42 lawsuits?
42. And
42 lawsuits in the last 10 years.
in the last 10 years. And what are these lawsuits about? And
So violating civil rights, sexual harassment, you name it.
And this is coming from people inside the jail that are suing.
Well, not necessarily the employees
Okay.
at the sheriff's office inside the jail. I think it's 42 or 48 lawsuits. I think that's what I was given.
So is Wally covering all that, or?
Well, you got to remember, Wally's county legal counsel.
Right.
So our insurance company takes those lawsuits and they defend them.
Okay.
So people says, well, how's that costing us taxpayer money? Well, We seen, I think this year alone, county insurance went up $300,000 this year for premiums.
Whoa.
So when I took over in office, I said, man, how come insurance is so high? They said, oh, it's going up 30% this year. 30%. Well, when you're already paying $1 million and it goes up 30%, that's 300,000.
Yeah, exactly.
So every year we're seeing it go up another 300,000, 300,000, 300,000. Well, and everybody says, oh, well, we got all these. We have a lot of lawsuits that come about that in the county that are not good lawsuits, are frivolous. Okay. But then we have a lot of lawsuits that come about, and I don't know about every single one of the jail and the sheriff's lawsuits. I've tried to track some of them because you're not given a whole lot of information because, we're in court and we can't say nothing. But most citizens don't even know we got all these lawsuits.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Oh, it's huge. So I seen J.J. Schofield. He had posted on a Facebook post when he used to be the HR director. He said on a Facebook post, "Oh well, when I was HR director, we didn't have any lawsuits. 42.
Okay.
I think it was 42 lawsuits just in the jail alone, jail and sheriff." While he was HR director.
Yeah, because it's been in the last 10 years.
Yeah, last 10 years. And he's been out of, he moved to Jackson County. So when he made that statement, it was false. Now he can say, well, that was a jail, but he's the HR director.
Yeah, it covers everything in the
Yes,
county.
yeah.
So, wow.
So, I want to figure out how to simplify that. And we have 4 counties, they're up north, that they have a private company is in charge of the jail.
Interesting.
And it works perfect. That saves those county monies. Now, this is what I've researched and everybody says, man, it's working really good. I'm like, why don't we at least look into it and see, could we do that here? Could we save the taxpayers money? Could we cut some of this liability out? Because if it's working for 4 counties, why can't it work for 5?
Yeah,
We'd be
exactly.
one of them.
Yeah.
So I'm one, just because someone says, oh, John, this over here will work. Okay, I gotta look at it.
Yeah.
I'm willing to look at anything. And when I research it, if it works, my next question is, how come we're not doing it?
Right. Makes sense.
But not everything's going to work for us. So I want to keep an open mind. And so I have a lot of people say, hey, John, the county ought to do this, the county ought to do that. And I hear them. And I think about it, I research it, but I go back to them and say, you know what? That's a great idea, but this is why it won't work, because we're mandated by the state to do this, or we've got government regulations. And they go, oh, I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
their idea was great. It was wonderful. And citizen input is one of the best things you can have. And because if you have 88,000 brains thinking, it's better than one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so I really think that's great. And I'm not going after the sheriff or the sheriff's department, but I'm just saying this is a huge cost.
And there's lots of those out there.
Oh, we have them inside the county. We wanted to put GPSs in all the county vehicles, and we had departments and department heads, employees throw a fit.
Because they didn't want to get tracked.
They said, "Oh, I don't want you tracking me where I'm going." And we said, "Listen, if we put a GPS in a vehicle, if somebody says, "Oh, Joe, a county Jeep ran me off the road on Smith Hill going to Wolf Creek," and we track that vehicle and say, Yes, there was a county vehicle at this time. They were going 62 miles an hour. It tells us if the vehicle swerved, if it did anything, how their lane changing was. And we say, no, we've got all the data here. This employee did not run you off the road, or in some cases, there was no employee even there.
Yeah, and having those devices it's
It protects the employee.
it protects, but it's also 10% less on the insurance bill as well.
And it protects the county from lawsuits.
Yep.
And so, some employees may not like it, but it also protects them.
That's saving taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, and but what they don't like, some employees, we had a lot of employees couldn't care.
Yeah.
We had some employees absolutely didn't like, I'll quit. Why would you quit your job over a GPS being in a vehicle?
Doesn't make sense because it's a company, it's a county vehicle.
It's
So
owned by every taxpayer.
yeah, why would they care? That doesn't make sense. Maybe because they're doing something they shouldn't be doing.
And that's that's a question that's always asked, and so when we try to look at everything, but I always say I want everybody to realize we have a lot of great employees,
Yeah.
very good
Yeah.
employees, and we have a lot of employees that I may get there at 6:30 in the morning, and I'll go by somewhere and I'll knock on the door and, well, your department don't open till 8 o'clock. And they put in 60 hours a week, but they only get paid for 40 because they're a dedicated employee.
Yeah, nice.
I mean, and just because somebody don't put in 60 hours a week don't mean they're not dedicated.
Sure. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is there could be somebody in finance, there could be somebody in a department that says, man, I got overlogged yesterday and I had a bunch of people come in and I'm behind, and they're there working more hours than anybody else to catch up because they're dedicated.
Yeah.
And so, we just have a lot of moving parts. We have a lot to contend with, but I keep going back that we're not going to be able to sustain pretty soon. It won't be long at the rate we're going, because you have, I think, 4 or 5 unions, and everybody wants raises, and every time they get more raises and their PERS go up and this goes up, everything goes up. Pretty soon, we're not going to be able to afford all these employees.
Yeah.
And what I heard from some of the unions was, where it's made up of some older employees, they said, well, if you got to lay people off, it's not going to affect me. I've been here long enough. It's the younger people that gets cut, not me. And yeah, that may be true. But is that the attitude we're supposed to have?
It's not a good attitude. No.
And it's not supposed to be about me. It's supposed to be about us.
Exactly.
So I run for commissioner. I'm not after the title. I'm not after the money. I'm there to serve the people. And service is supposed to be about serving us.
And you never really stopped.
I never stop.
I
mean, the new board took over. They were their own board. People accused me of saying, oh, you're still running this, pulling the strings from behind the scenes. That's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Well, there are people that can say no. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that, and it was ridiculous. It's
so I'll be honest with the citizens. The first couple of months, you had Andreas, who had only been a commissioner for 7 months, and then you had 2 new commissioners come in.
Yep.
If they wanted to reach out to me and ask me, hey, John, how does this work? I would tell them. If they asked me for advice on, hey, I don't understand this, how would you give me some advice on how to handle this? I would give them advice.
Sure.
And for the first couple of months, they reach out once in a while, and I would reach out to them. here or there and say, hey, you might want to think about this or that. And then I stop
Mm-hmm.
because once they get their feet under them, it's
Yep.
up to now. My phone was always open.
Yeah.
Herman Bertschiger was a commissioner for 4 years. His phone, I guarantee you, was always open. If one of them wanted to call him and say, hey, Herman, you were in here for 4 years. I don't understand this. Herman would explain it to him.
Cool. Right.
I believe any of the previous commissioners was available by phone because that's still called service.
Yeah.
We
Absolutely.
weren't getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't a commissioner, but we still want what's best for the county.
Yeah.
We want what's best for the citizen. And so I believe in most cases that was, and so I think that I can't speak for every former commissioner, but I know some of them, and they told me the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody wants to, I mean, not everybody, but everybody wants to serve. Some people just want it for the money or the title.
Yeah.
But that's not you. You've got your own money. You do your own thing. I mean,
I got my own business. God's been good to me.
mm-hmm.
And so, I take my 4 businesses, I have people run it, or I put them on hold. And so I work an average of 60, 70 hours a week as commissioner, and I work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
As commissioner, you're on call every other weekend or every weekend or every so many weekends a month. And so if the sheriff needs to reach out to you as commissioner because there's something going on,
Mm-hmm.
he does. If it's fire season, there's a fire, you got the emergency management. If there's a problem with the courthouse or some department, they reach out to you. Your phone's available 24 hours a day.
Right.
You don't quit. And
Yeah.
that's the way it is. And that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it is.
Because when you run for this job and you take this job, you took this job about service. And if you're not willing to do that, don't run.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, that's, and I'm not trying to simplify the job because there's a lot more. You got your weekly business sessions, you got your admin meetings, you got your executive session meetings, you got workshops, and I believe that we could do better on having at least once a quarter a meeting in Cave Junction,
mm-hmm.
once a quarter in Williams, once a quarter maybe in Sunny Valley, and try to pull
Excellent.
the Wolf Creek in Sunny Valley because there's not as many residents in Wolf Creek, and try to pull them together. It's only 5 or 7 miles for them to drive.
Yep.
So it's not too far. And so even if we don't have a quote commissioner meeting, we have a meeting to talk with the citizens, explain where we're going, what we're doing. One of the things that's going on right now is the animal shelter.
Yeah, the animal shelter. They're trying to take the levy.
So
yep.
I'm 100% behind the animal shelter. My problem is the Board of County Commissioners put on a tax levy to increase your taxes for the animal shelter that comes on in May. If it passes, it don't get assessed till the July,
Mm-hmm.
and then you pay your taxes in November, and the animal shelter doesn't receive any money till November or December, I mean.
Yep.
So the board has the money in the general government fund.
Right now.
They could be putting money into the animal shelter, paying and helping the staff and the animals right now, but they're not putting 1 penny forward because they want to see if the voters will raise their taxes first.
Oh,
because if they do, it gives them more money to spend or waste other places.
Oh boy, yeah.
So for another 6 months or 7 months or 8 months, whatever that month, however, actually it's closer to 8 months, they're going to let the shelter suffer. as they say, oh, they're suffering down there, our staff, and the animals are suffering, then stop the suffering
Yeah, they could
today.
do that today.
I could do it. If I was commissioner and I had one other vote, we could do it today.
Right. Send them the money that they need. Yep.
But they're not doing it.
And they just
So-
want to raise taxpayers.
Yeah. So if the taxpayers don't raise their property taxes in May,
Yep.
watch the commissioners come up with the money.
Yeah, they will. And that's another state mandated program, right? The animal shelter. But they're saying, maybe we'll have to cut the CAP program if we don't get this levy or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's always the threat. Oh,
Yeah.
if you don't raise your taxes, we're going to, So I'm about, last year we got $1,019,000 in the SRS funding. And I spoke to the board earlier this year and I said, listen, don't spend that money on wages
Right.
because you get one more payment and it's over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't spend it on wages because as soon as that money ends,
That's it.
it's it. And you're going to have to, if you don't have the money, you got to lay those people off.
Yeah.
Well, that's not fair to those people.
No.
It's not fair. They may be relocated or quit another job thinking, well, I've got a good job. Now I'm getting laid off again. So I said, take $500,000 that and put into the animal shelter for infrastructure. Infrastructure never goes away.
Yeah.
So you're building it up. You're fixing the problems we got there. You're solving a problem.
Yep.
Instead of creating another new problem that you just wasted the money on.
Yeah. The animal shelter wanted to build its own vet because right now they're outsourcing the animals to other veterinarians in the area. Instead of in-house, they have to take the animal out.
Well,
else.
so I'm not quite sure. One is we don't have the facility for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So even if you raise 5 cents, I asked at a weekly business session a month ago or so, or maybe a month and a half ago, I spoke at the weekly business session and said, why aren't you funding this yourself? You have the money. And I said, 5 cents is not enough. For what you want to do, what you're projecting, what you're saying, 5 cents isn't enough.
No.
And one of the commissioners said, oh, Mr. West, you're right. 5 cents isn't enough. So why would you go to the taxpayers and ask them to fund 5 cents when it's not enough?
It's not even enough.
I can tell you why. Because if we keep the number low enough, we can get them to give us 5 cents now, and then we'll go back to them and get another 5 cents.
Right. Exactly.
And then another 5 cents.
Yeah.
And we'll just, so how does that fix the problem?
It's not fixing
It's
it.
not fair to the animals. It's not fair to the staff. It's not fair to the animal shelter program. It's not fair to it. But you know what? We're not going to fix the problem. We're going to band-aid the problem and piecemeal the problem. But as long as we pull the wool over the taxpayers' eyes, we win.
That's not okay.
That's not okay.
No.
It's not being honest.
No.
I call it dishonesty.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
Just be straight up with the taxpayers.
Yep.
If you don't have the money, we don't have the money. We got 2 choices. We either keep the shelter open or we got to limit it way down to here. But here's our books. We don't have the money,
Yeah.
but you have the money.
So excellent. Excellent work. I hope you get in because you have the experience. These guys don't. They're just kind of rookies over here. I like them. I like all 3 of them, but they're just, they're too green. Excuse me.
Well,
So-
some people could argue that, hey, they're going to get the experience. You didn't have it when you first started.
Right.
I had 30 plus years of business experience.
Yeah.
My mindset was going the right direction. I was already, you didn't have to teach me about building and planning.
Mhm.
You didn't have to teach me about public works. You didn't have to teach me about maintenance and facilities. You didn't have to teach me about so much of the county because I already have the experience. I do it every day.
Yep.
And so you didn't have to say, oh, well, we do this in a budget. Well, why? No, I already know. And so they will learn, but what will the cost be if they learn?
Right. Yeah.
And the problem is, somebody said the other day on a Facebook, oh, how come John West keeps posting that nobody is funding his campaign but him? I want to tell everybody the reason why.
Okay.
I owe nobody nothing but the 88,000 people to go and work and serve them. I don't owe no special interest group. I don't owe no person who donated 1,000 or 2,500 to my campaign. I don't have to vote a certain way to make them happy.
That's awesome.
I owe only the people of Josephine County, and that's everyone.
Yep. That's awesome.
And so I feel, and God has blessed me, God has been good to me, and I feel that if I want to become your commissioner, I need to put my money, my resources, and show you that I'm dedicated and I'm willing to do it, not have you say, oh, give me your kids the money that you need to spend on your kids' shoes, give it to me so I can run a campaign.
Yeah. No.
And so I'm different in that sense. I'm not saying I'm better than anyone. I'm just saying that is where I'm at. So if I get elected and you say, well, John, I expect you to do this, I'm sorry.
No.
Unless it is the best thing for the citizens and Josephine County, you can expect that.
And that right there is what everybody needs to know and remember. And that and you're approachable and people can come talk to you about it.
My door is open. My phone is always on.
Okay.
You can get a hold of me. I have people call me on the weekends, Sundays, call me. Hey, what's going on here? I don't think I like this. And I would explain to them, oh, well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I gave them the time because that's my job.
And a lot of people just, they sort of read the headlines and they just assume things and they don't actually reach out to the people. And
they don't. I had people say, he's doing this and this and this. And I said, no, I'm not. Well, I read it in the paper or I seen it on social media.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, but
that's not real.
It's not real.
Yeah.
Come to me and ask me.
Yeah. And that's what people should be doing more often.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to get involved with the community, great, but go to the source, talk to the person.
And I can tell you right now, we're not always going to agree.
No, sure. Yeah.
If you say, well, I want you to cut out, I want you to cut out law enforcement and send all the money to building and planning, I'm going to say, no, it's not going to
realistic.
happen. No, it's not.
Yeah.
And, so it's one of those things, there's a difference of listening, hearing, and agreeing.
Mm-hmm.
So, just because I don't agree with you on everything doesn't mean I don't hear you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, you may tell me this certain thing and I agree with you on a portion of it.
Right.
And I say, you know what? Joe over there, he called me and he was talking to me about this, and I don't agree with him on everything, but I do agree with him on this, and I researched it and I think he's right. And so I bring it to the board and the board goes, well, I like that.
Yeah.
But it's not my idea.
Right.
It's Joe's idea. And so I do certain things, and move the chess pieces around because of, but that doesn't mean that I don't listen or I don't hear you.
And there's a big difference between the popular thing and the right thing to do. Right.
Well, there's also, you may come to me with a brilliant idea.
Right.
I take it to the board. And the other two don't like it.
They don't like it. So, yeah.
So,
yeah.
The next thing I hear is, well, you said it was a brilliant idea, but you didn't do anything with it. Yeah. We're a board of 3,
right?
Not a board of 1.
Yep.
And so when I say, well, my plan is to do this, this, and this, My plan is that I am going to go in and I'm going to gather one more vote. And I am going to hopefully be good enough and strong enough that I can persuade at least one other person to vote what I think and prove my point,
Right.
lay it out, put it out there, and get one more vote on what's best for the people of Josephine County.
Right. Exactly.
And so if I fail at that on every time I go in there, then I'm not a very good commissioner. And so I don't think that commissioners should always vote yes with each other
Yeah.
or no against each other, because I don't think there is not always right on everything and wrong on everything. I think that if you get three people that says, oh, everything John says is right.
Nope.
No, I can tell you right now, wrong.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think it's healthy to have good discussions. I think it's healthy to not agree 100% with each other, because I don't think we're always right.
No. Yeah, of course.
And so anyone that says, well, I'm going to become commissioner and I'm always right on everything I think,
No.
you don't want them.
Nope.
You don't want them.
That's a fantasy land. That's a
It
dream. It's a dream.
is, because I can tell you right now, if you think that if you put me in office, I will never make a mistake and I'll always be right,
Wrong.
then I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's impossible.
Yeah.
I don't care who you put in there.
Yeah.
You could put in your own mom and you're not going to agree with it.
No, that's true. Yeah. And I mean, everything is different. It always takes a lot of research and discussion with the community. But thank you for coming in. I appreciate the interview.
Yeah.
And good luck. We're behind you. The Republican Party is behind you, of course. And let's see what happens.
Yeah, I hope that people go to my website and go to electjohnwest.com. I know a lot of people seen my signs. A lot of people know me.
Yep.
And I really want people to know that my heart's in the right place.
So one thing we were discussing at one point was that transparency within the county, like the 42 lawsuits that you spoke of. Nobody knows about that. Like you could walk down the street and ask people, hey, there's all these lawsuits that are happening in the county. It's costing taxpayers millions of dollars, $1 million. I don't know what it is, right? What do you want to do about that? I mean, to let taxpayers know where the money's going, stuff like that. Do you have any ideas?
So 2 years as your county commissioner.
Yep.
I didn't know about it.
Really? So
No.
so the lawsuits have been around. There's been 10 years roughly. It's over a 10-year span. There's 42 lawsuits.
Yeah, it's I think it's around 42 or 46, or it's somewhere in the 40s, 38 to 48 or something like that. And I think the bulk of them, I believe there was, if my memory serves me correct, it was around 42 with the jail and the sheriff. And I didn't know about them till 2 months ago.
Crazy. And
2 months ago.
Yeah, that's wild.
And I was commissioner for 4 years, and I don't know.
Yeah, you should have. I mean,
I should have known.
Yeah.
So how does the average citizen supposed to find out?
So what do you want to do about that?
So what I would like to do is I would like to have, instead of hiring more people and costing us another $150,000 a year and all the benefit, all this stuff, I would like to take and have this online.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do have a lawsuit, you can see that we have X as a lawsuit. This is the matter. But some open lawsuits, we can't tell you all the details, but we can tell you because they're in the courts.
Yeah, they're there. So a citizen can do an open record.
So that's where I got mine from, was courts.
Okay.
Because I know that if I would have done a public records request in the county,
Right.
I wouldn't have got them.
No, because you didn't ask the exact.
if you don't ask the exact phrase, terminology, language, then they don't give you what
They
you
just
want.
deny it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just send it back. Sorry.
And I believe they were supposed to get back with you in 5 or 7 days that your request was received, and they were supposed to get back to you within
I think it was 15 days. I can't remember.
it
There's
was 15 or 20 days
Yeah.
with your information. People goes way longer than that.
Yeah, it does. And
I had a request out for, I think, close to 9 months.
wow.
And so transparency is huge. Every single person that runs for commissioner, every person always talks about transparency. I want to be open. I want to be transparent. Yeah. With a lot of people, it's a talking point.
Yeah, sure.
With me, it's genuine because I believe everything should be online. As much as we can put online that doesn't jeopardize a worker, we can't put workers' information online. That's
No,
it.
of course not. Yeah.
But all of our meeting stuff, all of our notes, all of that should be online. So you don't have to do a public records request, lawsuits, costs. We got a budget online. Yeah. Try to take that big catalog and try to figure out. The average person don't even know how to read it.
No, I have. It's not
And
easy.
so there is so much that we could streamline, and so you could go on the county website, click a button, and go, oh, I want to look up public works, or I want to look up airports or something, and then you can say, oh, I want to look up lawsuits, or I want to look up grant funding for these. Bam, it's there.
Right.
So now you're not putting in, have to fill out a form or have to go online, fill this out. It goes to an employee and then they take time. So this board now wants to hire a public information officer / public records request. Once we put it online, our board's office they take our minutes, our meetings and everything, and it's supposed to be online, archived. They could automatically, when they put all those minutes and everything, they could put the portion online. Mm-hmm. So it's already done, and we don't have to pay extra help.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
So we can save money, be more transparent, be more open to the public, and be more accessible.
Yeah, because there's so much information that's just not out there because they don't. I mean, why isn't it out there? You didn't know about those 42 lawsuits?
I didn't, and I was commissioner 2 years.
That's insane.
I mean, there's lawsuits that has happened that we don't even know about.
Yeah.
And we're not going to know about them. Mm-hmm. And they could be closed out, and we still don't know about them. Right. Because, well, we don't have to say anything. That's what government will tell you. Well, we don't have to tell you about them, but if you ask, we'll let you know about them.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and ask. What do you think you're going to ask about? If you don't know that it happens, how are you going to know what to ask for?
Yeah, if you don't know the question, how can you get the answer?
So if all of that is online, so you can just say, oh, wow, so it's everything's a game. I call government a game.
Yeah, it is.
And not everything, I shouldn't say that, but there's so much of government that, well, if we don't say it, then they won't know. Right. And that's where it goes back to. It's not only, you're not only working and serving the people, but in working and serving them, you're transparent, you're answering questions before they even have to ask them.
Yeah.
They don't have to ask them. Oh, I was able to go right there and see it.
And so with these lawsuits, we're paying this huge insurance premium for the insurance companies.
Oh, it's killer. It's killer.
And they're the insurance companies fighting these cases, and it's a huge bill that it's falling on taxpayers.
So when I become county commissioner, I said, hey, we got this general government fund over here. It's $1 million. What is this? Oh, that's the commissioner's fund. I said, what? The commissioners have their own? Is this a slush fund or what is this?
Yeah.
And, oh, well, you pay certain things out of that, at that time, the commissioner's pay comes out of that and office staff. And I said, what else? Oh, well, the sheriff's insurance comes out of that. I said, why isn't the sheriff's insurance in his own
his own
budget?
Right.
Why is it in here? Quiet.
They didn't say that. And there's a lot of that going on in the county.
Yeah. And I go, wait a minute. How much does it cost for a deputy in Josephine County? So I go to finance director and I say, I want to know how much does it cost for a deputy. And I said, I opened the budget book up, but I believe there's things missing in here. What are you getting at? And I said, well, if we're paying for law enforcement's insurance out of this general government, is it in the sheriff's budget? Well, no, because you're paying for it.
Oh, my goodness.
I said, well, then that's not what it costs for law enforcement.
Yeah.
I said, how much more of this? And I'm not picking at the sheriff. I'm just giving you an illustration.
Yeah, it's an example. Yeah.
So, and then, you go to another department, maybe it's building planning or something, and you go, well, how come this is over here? Well, this got moved over here, so their budget doesn't look so bad.
Okay, that's not transparent.
And I go, well, wait a minute. Why don't we this is what everything costs. And if we have to move money over here from the general fund or something to make this whole, I want the taxpayers to be able to go on here and see every single cost.
And that would be great to have a website like that, just to be a resource to people,
But how are you going to know what it costs when part of it's paid over here, and it doesn't really give you the true costs of what it pays or what it's charged.
All that.
And so I want to bring transparency to a whole new level. I want to bring accountability to a whole new level. And I know we're running out of time, but I heard one of the questions at one of the forums about the charter.
Yeah.
That's
right. I remember that.
And so I want to bring that up. It kind of amazes me. What do you know about the charter, and do you believe the charter is good? And the charter's outdated.
It is 1996.
Yeah, and it's had amendments and this and that, and there's a bunch of the charter stuff that doesn't even follow state and federal law. And of course, there's a clause in there that you'll always follow state and federal law.
Right.
So one of the things that's missing, do you know that you could be elected commissioner today, take your oath, and never make a meeting again? And unless you're recalled, you could get paid for 4 years and never show up to work.
That's insane. That's insanity.
And do you know that if you're commissioner, you can I'm taking 6 months vacation and you get paid, because the charter does not address a commissioner's accountable for squat.
Yeah, that needs to be fixed.
So if we're not going to change the charter, I want to create policy. So one of the commissioner's jobs is creating policy.
Sure.
And so I want to create policy that we as commissioners have 2 weeks paid vacation.
That's it.
If you take any more than that, you don't get paid at all.
I like that. I think the taxpayers would like that too.
I want to show the people we are accountable to you. And I don't care, people says, oh, well, you're a commissioner, you should be able to take a month off paid like any other. No, I've only been here 1 week and I get unlimited vacation time?
Not okay. Yeah.
Everybody else works. I have to work 1 through 5 years on a normal job, except for government. Normally, you have to work 1 through 5 to get a week off, and then 5 through 7 or 5 through 10 to get 2 weeks off.
Right.
10 through 15 to get 3 weeks off, and 15 through 20 to get 4 weeks off.
Yep.
Government, you get 4 weeks right out of the gate.
And PERS.
And everything. So these are, and if you're a commissioner and you give your power away and you don't do your job, I want to create an ordinance that holds you accountable.
Nice. I like that.
I want there to be more accountability to the commissioners than anyone.
That makes sense because you are for the people, right?
We're all 3 branches of government.
Yep.
We're executive, judicial, and legislative. We're all 3 branches. So if we're going to be all 3 branches, we're over 400 and some employees, you lead by leadership.
Yeah, exactly.
And you lead by being accountable.
Yep.
If you want to make all of these people accountable, it starts with you first.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I believe it's most important. And when you do that, the people's going to say, wow.
That's great.
We have people that really takes this serious.
Awesome.
And so,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. Thank you, John.
All right.
Appreciate it.